Hello and welcome back to another episode of Sexology Podcast. I know one of the things that you talk about a lot is the difference between intimacy and sex. So tell us more about that.
Well, I think it's one of the things that I see a lot of couples get frustrated with because there's a stereotype that all men want sex and women basically want emotional intimacy. But as I'm working with couples, I see clearly that what we really want is to feel connected with another human. We want that most intimate, soulful type of connection. And although men usually achieve that more likely with physical sex, women seem to desire the emotional closeness first before they can be vulnerable and trust the person. And in a sense, it makes sense biologically because women are hosting, if you will. Women allow the man to come into their body, which is a whole nother step of intense intimacy if you think about it. So I think it's very important that both men and women really work on the concept of how do we connect. And there's more than one way to connect, which is why talking about the 6 ways that we build intimacy is so important.
I agree with you. And what I see a lot with my clients is that when the relationship become less sexual, that aspect of the relationship become less pronounced, and then the couples lose the other types of intimacy, and that impacts the relationship. I know you even differentiate between physical intimacy and sexual intimacy, which is very, very important. And again, I love that you're kind of like talking about intimacy as something that's an umbrella term, that sex can be one of them. Well, tell us, what are some of these different types of intimacy that we are referring to?
Well, for example, Nas, there's a sharing experiences intimacy. There's an emotional intimacy. There's an intimacy built around spirituality, around intellectual intimacy, which is one of the main ones I have with my partner. There's new experiences intimacy. And then, of course, there's the physical intimacy, the touching, the cuddling, the holding hands, the presence of each other. And lastly is the actual intimacy that involves intercourse and the true coming of bodies together.
You often see how these different types of intimacy kind of play together.
Oh, absolutely. So I love what you just said, Nas, because it tells who is ever listening that the reason you want to explore and try other forms of intimacy is you're building a tapestry. So the more strings you have that align, the stronger whatever the rug is or the artwork or anything that's being held together. In this case, it's the relationship you're creating. So you want to have more than the physical intimacy. You want more than the emotional intimacy. You want more than the intellectual intimacy, because when you have a problem, whether it's in the spiritual kind or you disagree on ideations of values, then those things are not as detrimental to your relationship. When you do have a conflict about it, you're more likely to resolve it because you have all these other parts of your tapestry that are solid and woven tightly. The most vulnerable of all the intimacies is the sexual one. And the reason it's the most vulnerable is because it is the least stable. Couples that have only sexual intimacy they're superficial, so they can never deepen as the spiritual and emotional ones do. And partners of just the sexual intimacy will oftentimes tell me, I feel so lonely. I feel used. I feel like they don't love me. They just want sex with my body. There's nothing here holding us together. It's like building your house on a bad foundation, which is why myself, as well as other intimacy sex therapists, often will tell our clients, you need to delay sex until you have at least 3 or 4 of these other intimacies in place.